Good morning. I'm Constantine. I'm here on behalf of the Abilene City Council Watchdog Group. This morning we have, I'm very happy to say, 292 members. I'll make this very brief, if as brief as I can anyway. As per ordinances, it's the general consensus of people that contacted me with my group, and it's my feeling too, that of course when you have ordinances, there's always going to be people that say, this is socialist, I don't need the city telling me what to do with my property and all that. But also understand there's a happy medium. When you've got junked up vehicles in front of people's houses, it affects their property values. And I think that, I don't envy the job and decision when you have to decide on things like that. However, I would suggest, just when you do go over this, since this is the first reading, try to keep the property owners' rights and the more conservative line in mind. Simply because the fact, well, when politics comes around, I don't always necessarily agree, but I didn't really particularly think that, for instance, the annexation idea was all that good. But, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But these property owners, this is their home, this is their castle, and when you regulate them, I just want to ask that you keep in mind that these people sometimes have to pay in order to meet your requirements. And I'll give you a brief description that happened to me personally. A very close friend of mine called up and was really upset on the phone. I had to calm her down to understand what she was saying. She had gotten a letter from the city informing them that the two vehicles that were parked behind her home since 1962 needed to be moved, or they would fine them $500 a day. Well, actually, the letter was written to her grandfather, who had been dead over a year. And I guess what I'm trying to say is probably the people that have to enforce these ordinances, probably it's not always the funnest job, and it may not always be feasible. But I think sometimes, if there's something like that, especially in this case where there's two vehicles parked in an alley, that perhaps in cases of elderly people or just people that may be home in general, knock on the door, maybe give some suggestions instead of being so impersonal in sending a letter. I would hate to see anybody go through that kind of duress. I mean, I'm sure the person that was doing the ordinance was just doing their job and didn't mean to cause any distress. But I really encourage you guys to take that into consideration when I don't know if this deals with what people that look at ordinances do, but I would like you to take that into consideration. Also, times are hard right now. But even when times are good, I would like to encourage the City Council to remember, again, let's take the conservative outlook and let's not put any undue burden on business owners as well. Obviously sometimes it makes sense and sometimes it's a good idea. But for instance, to give an example of some of the people that were annexed out there, some of those folks were on propane. And since propane isn't allowed in the city limits, they had to pay for natural gas to be piped to their homes. Well, some of these people that were on a fixed income, they're going to have a hard time meeting those expenses, especially some of the people that are elderly receiving Social Security. So, when you enact this, I simply ask you to just take that in consideration, that sometimes when you make these ordinances, although good intentions are there, sometimes you might want to consider what kind of cost you're going to be placing on the business owner and or property owner. And as the founder of the Watchdog Group, I came here to build bridges and not walls. And I would like to invite any person that has something to say for or against anything that said, come on Facebook. As Mr. Spanos says, said in an article in the newspaper, there's a lot of rancor that goes on by people that post under anonymous names in local media, for instance. Well, on Facebook, we all use our real name, and I will ensure that you're all treated with the respect that you deserve. And I humbly just ask that you take these things into consideration. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Mr. Constantine.
Yes, sir.